Hey Damon, if Jeff wanted to watch this interview, it's the Jeff Freeman live.
Hey everyone, welcome to the JFree906 podcast and the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch series. And here we are tonight. We're going to be talking about Tuesday's episode with the man, Carl the Crusher Andreasen. How you doing tonight, Carl?
I'm doing really good, Jeff. Thanks for having me back, man.
Oh my gosh, it was great. I tell you what, seeing you on the TV and on the ranch and doing the show out there was absolutely awesome. I thought, you've done and we were talking about this before the show started. What, about a year's worth of research out there already? I mean, who else to bring out there for the team to talk to, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think Jeff and I were trying to figure it out just the other day how long it's been, and we were like, man, yeah, I was here for the Halloween party and doing stuff even before that, and it was so it's been coming up on about a year now, and History Channel and their whole crew was here in January. I think January like 4th through for like a week they were up here. And it's amazing how much didn't make the cut of the episode that actually happened up here. And I'll be able to talk a little bit about it and tease some of it, but it's pretty wild what went on, even when I wasn't around, what happened. So, but I was really happy with the way the episode turned out.
I was going to ask.
I didn't get this. Yeah, I didn't get to see any of it until basically the day of when it came out, when I was going to be interviewing Andrew and Paul on my YouTube channel right before. They sent me a copy of the episode so I could watch it, just so I knew what was going to be in it and how it was all put together.
Right.
And I was so happy and just like relieved at how the History Channel honored the place and the historical story of how everything went, and the chain of events and everything that occurred like happened for real, and the way they put it together, it was probably really challenging for them to decide what they had to edit out, because there was just so much that went on.
Yeah, I can't imagine that having that job to figure that out. That's got to be one of the worst things, because especially there's going to be so much important information, and you only get 42 minutes worth to put it together, and you think, wow, it's so much of it. And that's why it's nice to have you here, because I know, folks, unfortunately, we just can't ask Carl every single question that we want to. There are things I'm sure that we're going to touch on that he can't talk about tonight, but having you here to kind of help us understand, some of the more important aspects of it. First of all, I wanted to ask you about how many acres does Jeff own there for Mount Wilson Ranch? How many acres is that?
It's fluctuated over the years. Right now, it's a little over 100 acres. It's 120 something acres. Okay. Yeah, it's a big area, and then it borders a lot of public land and BLM land and nowhere. And then you go the other direction, and you run into Nevada Test Site.
Yep.
You run into the Area 51 territory if you go south.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you guys are only you're west of Las Vegas, and then is that west of you then would be where Area 51 and all that test site and everything is, right?
So Mount Wilson Ranch is actually just northeast of Area 51. So you'd
Okay.
have like Mount Wilson Ranch up
Mhm.
here, and then Area 51 kind of out in the desert, and then straight south would be Las Vegas, kind of over the test site.
Okay.
So yeah, you
Wow.
have to drive all the way around Area 51 to get to Las Vegas from here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, and that's and I don't I honestly I've seen it on a map, but I have really no idea how big the Area 51 test site is. That's got to be what 500 to 1,000
Entire
acres.
state of Nevada. When you look at it, when you look at the actual maps of the different areas, Area 51 is just one little section where they've admitted there's a runway. There's dozens of areas out there and bases and underground facilities, and it's almost, I would say, ugh, over half of the state of Nevada is Department of Energy surrounded test site stuff. Indian Springs, Beach Base, Nellis Air Force Base, all the way
Mhm.
into Nevada is, Nellis Air Force Base. When you're driving into the city from like St. George from Utah,
Mhm.
right over I-15 is just nonstop fighter jets and bombers and stuff flying right over the city, headed to Area 51 and back doing test flights.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be crazy. You know, and I know that you've been out there with Chris Bartell. We've had him on the show, and you guys and folks, if you don't know already, Carl has his own YouTube channel, Carl the Crusher, and it's great. I mean, and you'll see a lot of the investigations and the experiments that they've done out at Mount Wilson Ranch and everywhere else that Carl goes. I mean, it's a good one. So check it out. I did not get it in the link and in the description below, but I will. I'll put that link in there so you can just check it out. But you really need to check out his YouTube channel because I tell you what, if you enjoy what you saw on the show on Tuesday night, you're really going to enjoy his YouTube channel. So it's great stuff. And you guys really and I love the way that you approach this. And by the way, Jim, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate that. Jim's actually going to be on the show tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch episode number 8 of season 4. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow night, and Jim's going to be sitting in the co-host chair with me. So, and Pete
Nice.
Kelsey is going to be coming on with us. We got Pete
Oh,
Kelsey.
awesome.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
joining
so
us.
you get to hear a lot about the drone data and everything they've been doing up there. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah,
Very
Pete's been on a couple of times now, and we really enjoy him a lot. Uh, he's a great guy. But again, and that kind of takes me into let's take a look at some of the now like Bigelow. I got a few pictures here. I'm not going to show all these because I have a guest here now, and I don't really need to go through them all. But Robert Bigelow bought Mount Wilson Ranch about the same time as what he bought Skinwalker Ranch, right? About that was 1996-ish.
Yeah, there's a weird overlap right in that same time frame within about 2 weeks of buying Mount Wilson. It's like they also went up there and looked at Skinwalker Ranch and bought that too. And it originally, when Bigelow bought Skinwalker Ranch, the name Skinwalker and the discussion of skinwalkers never even came up. It was all just about like UFOs and paranormal
Mhm.
stuff. But the name Skinwalker kind of came later. I wonder if that kind of applied when the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon or like Path of the Skinwalkers, different stories started coming out later, but I don't know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, about the same time. But it's interesting because everybody really focuses in on Bigelow because he's kind of like the keystone figure, the head of
Mhm.
NIDS, and
Yep.
Bass and everything. But the people in the photographs that were with Bigelow is what really intrigued me because you have like Hal Puthoff, which is like the head of the psychic spy program at the Stanford Research Institute, who
Yep.
used to train Uri Geller and work with Pat Price and Ingo Swann and all these remote viewers. Yeah, so just over Colm Kelleher's shoulder to the left there in that photo, there's Bigelow in
Yep.
the front, and then over on the left, that's Colm Kelleher,
Right here.
and then it might be Eric Davis over there in the background, but then behind Colm Kelleher and the rest of that photo, if you zoom out, is I don't. It's okay if you don't, but is Hal Puthoff, and then it's probably Jacques Vallée is the guy that took this photo because
Wow.
he's in a bunch of
Yep.
the other ones.
Yep.
Jacques Vallée is the other one up there. Yeah, so there's Colm Kelleher and Bigelow in front of the fireplace that's right down the hall there.
Yeah, right
Behind me.
behind you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That goes right into like a hotel area, or is that like it goes toward the restaurant or something, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'm in the saloon right here. I can kind of show you. So
Oh,
this
let me
is
get
the
you back up here.
actual this is the whole saloon. I'm
Wow.
at the bar. This is some of the just the artifacts that we've been finding in the area just in the last couple of days. Um, I don't know. At Skinwalker Ranch, they would call this metamaterial.
Yep.
And we find loads of this stuff all over the ground. Weird, unusual metal and strapping and almost like steampunk type stuff. I know you just asked me about the building, but
Yeah.
here, I'll show you around.
All right.
You want me to just show you around?
Yeah, please. I got you on solo layout there. So yeah, please.
Okay.
I can't
So
wait to see this place.
I'm at the saloon here. This is the Craw Creek Saloon.
Mhm.
And so we've had a ton of paranormal activity happen in here. They get orbs. I know it's speculative what orbs are, if they're bugs or little particles floating close, but some of the ones that we got on the security cameras and things in here are really odd because some of them blink on and off and blink on and off, and then they change directions and blink on and off.
Yeah, that's
Or they
not dust.
float right up at the camera and then they go really fast and they get bigger and strange stuff. And so we get weird stuff like that floating around here. On paranormal investigating equipment, we get all kinds of stuff right in this corner and back in this door. Here's some pottery that we found. This is basket maker culture pottery.
Oh wow.
So this has this little notches and stuff in it because they would weave grass into a basket and then they would put the clay down inside the grass basket.
Okay.
And then they would burn the grass off in a fire, and then it would harden the clay and leave these little etches on it like that.
Wow.
But this would have been just a part of a whole big pot, and these would date back. We actually have an archaeologist up here with us. That's why I came back up here, is we have an archaeologist helping us identify a lot of this stuff.
Wow.
But this would date back to probably 1000 BC to about 400 AD time frame. And this stuff's laying on the ground just out back when we start looking around and for artifacts. And arrowheads. When you watch some of the upcoming videos on my YouTube channel, I mean, Jeff, when the archaeologist is here, brings out his private collection of things that he's found on his hikes around the property, and it will blow your mind. And the archaeologist was like, he couldn't believe it. Some of the stuff that he's got is like belongs in a whole museum.
Wow.
And we're probably going to put a museum back in this room.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
All down the hallway there. So we have a whole side room and a back room back here. I don't know if this is interesting to anyone, but it goes all the way back in here. We're going to clean all this out. He has all these classic arcade games.
Nice.
Like pinball machines. Like he's original pack.
We're starting to lose you a little bit.
We're going to turn this into a museum that people can come up here and get a day pass through the Patreon page and stuff and actually come and check it out and see for yourself, or you can get an overnight pass and stay in one of the rooms and see. So you come down this way, and this goes into what we kind of call the lodge. So that photo of Bigelow at the fireplace was just right
Oh,
here.
yeah, there it is right there.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's same carpet and everything, same chandelier, right?
Yep.
So that's that. And this is really cool too, because the fireplace here, see if I can kind of show you, has like mining cores. These are like from drilling out of the earth.
Oh,
it's like a big tube from
wow,
the mining days. And then there's like glass from wine bottles all embedded into the fireplace. So that the explosion that we did in the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch episode, where we blasted out the lava vent tube.
Yep.
This This is one of the rocks that I carried back off the mountain after that as a souvenir.
Oh
Let me
my
see
God.
if I can show you.
Was that from mine 1 or mine 2? Do you remember?
This was
Oh,
from mine 1, but I don't know
oh,
if I'm on target or not, but there's got
yeah, you
tons of
are.
crystals, tons of
Wow.
crystals all over it.
That is
But
really
that's what's
interesting.
waiting underground for us is a whole. I feel like the whole mountain up here is like a giant geode,
Oh my gosh.
but
Yeah.
it's pretty remarkable. But then you come down the hall here. I'll try and keep you straight. I'm all crooked. It's like reversed for me. This is like the diner.
Oh, okay. Yep.
They have catering come up and we'll cook meals, and then this is the whole cafeteria, or kind of they call this the mother lode grill, and this is the minor diner.
Minor
And it
diner.
has
Sweet.
a bunch of cool artifacts in here too. And then out the back, we go out back this door.
Oh, that looks a lot better without all the snow on the ground.
Yeah, it's all nice to show everybody what it looks like now. So down there
Ah, yeah, the
is
meadow.
that's the meadow and the settler cabin and the red bunkhouses right down there. And then that's where Jeff lives.
Oh, okay. Yep.
The house is right there. And the shaman house where the first sightings of the ghost shaman is just right up the hill. Here, I'll walk around front. Let me shut this door. Or we'll just come through this way.
Hey, there's Chris Bartell. He's in the chat watching.
Is he? What's up,
Yeah.
Crispy?
He said, "You're the man." He said, "Carl's the man. True grit."
Yeah, true grit, bro. Chris left his boots up here. We found him on the hill.
I remember seeing that in one of your episodes. Yeah.
So if you
How
come
do you
up
leave your
here,
boots? I mean, come on. How do you leave your boots? I don't get that.
it was cold, man. I don't know how it happens, but if you come up here, you got to sign this book and check in so everybody knows that you were here. And then this is a rock that I took from Skinwalker Ranch when I was there, and I
Oh,
brought
sweet.
here.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a cool one.
Yeah, that is.
So check that out. Don't steal it if you come up here.
I'm coming, but I won't steal the rock. I promise.
There's a lot of shadow figures seen moving up and down this hall. It's a hard one for me because there's so many windows, but there's been some super weird ones that like shadow blobs floating up and down the hallway here, going into the wall. I've seen like what you would consider like a ghost, like walk past the doorway in this room here. Oh, I'll come out here and show you. Tell me if I'm going too fast or if anybody
No,
wants me to
this is
show
perfect.
you.
Thank you.
So out here, this is the front. So you walk out of the diner, and this is it. Like, welcome to the Wild West.
Yeah, that is so cool. I'm glad he kept it like this. And he's how much is he done all the restoration here or yeah?
Yeah,
It's really well
when
done.
Jeff bought the place, the whole saloon was leaning over and just held together with plywood inside.
Oh wow.
And they brought a tractor up and pushed the whole thing back up and reinforced it all with steel and everything and brought it back to life and kind of restored it all.
Ron, thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate that. Ron is saying hi to Carl, Chris, and Jeff. There you go.
This is
oh, that's
the
that
room where this room on the end is where Bigelow says that he woke up in the night and the ghost of the shaman was standing by his bed.
Oh wow.
Scared the crap out of him. So I've stayed in there, had some weird dreams. Here's Odie.
Odie. Yeah, we've seen him on your videos. Yep.
Yeah, Odie's a girl. She's she's awesome though. She like shows us everywhere to go the whole time. But yeah, this is the front of the saloon. All the way up here, so we can just go back in. I'll show you. But there's been a lot of crazy stuff. The animal mutilation that occurred was just right down the front by the gate there.
Oh wow.
And then it went down behind the blood path, went clear down behind the saloon. And then there was a big gut pile laying right in the meadow in the snow. That didn't happen on the TV show, but there was a lot of stuff that happened up here during the filming to the crew, people working here. There's going to be stuff that comes out in the bonus episode, I think, that was cut out of the main episode that to me was like really fascinating stuff. Yeah. It was a lot more up my alley, more like Skinwalker activity. But
oh, there you go.
We're gonna have to wait to see.
We're gonna be waiting for that for sure. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like a tour of the main area, but like we go all the way up to the shaman cave, and there's medicine wheels and abandoned mines. There's a lot more going to be coming out soon, like what you see in the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch episode, looking for an entrance to whatever's buried under the meadow.
Right.
The actual entrance is something that we may have just found recently, but we're going to have to get to that. There's a lot of ground to cover to get to that point.
Yeah, I'll bet so. Here's a question from Robot. He says, in 2019, a TV investigation was conducted of this mysterious ranch for its concentration of supernatural energy and countless reports of extraterrestrial activity. Was anything found?
At Mount Wilson?
Yeah, I'm assuming he's referring to Mount Wilson. Of this mysterious ranch,
Tons and tons of artifacts. As far as like the concentration of paranormal activity, the stories range from everything from extraterrestrials, a tall figure and two short extraterrestrial figures appearing to the caretaker of the property, Donna Bardeen, that used to live in the house up the hill where a lot of the original sightings of ghosts and things started happening to other people when they came up here. So I can give you a little bit of a rundown. If everybody's unfamiliar, it's hard to cover it all in the TV show.
Right.
But basically what happened was there's been indigenous people here for thousands of years. The artifacts from the pottery to the arrowheads, the spears, everything that we find up here indicates that there's been people inhabiting this region since the Ice Age, when there was woolly mammoth walking around.
Oh, wow.
And there's evidence of that all over this whole place and all up the hill and down into the valley and down Craw Creek, all over. And then on top of that, you've got more and more different groups, and they're very strange. There's esoteric groups that suddenly show up, like the Knights of Pythias. There is like almost like a Freemasonry type parallel group. The sword is, do you want to see the sword?
Yeah, I saw it on one of your episodes, but yeah, show it to us.
Yeah, Jeff ran over this with his ATV.
Without even knowing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Craig, thank you so much.
Right
Craig. I really appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, you bet. So here's like the handle.
Oh, wow.
I'll turn it over here too, because it's got like this. Yeah, so it's got like this guy, like Atlas or Apollo, like holding up the pillars or something on it.
Wow.
Trying to get it straight. Cool. There we go.
There we go. I see it now. Wow. And that's not been removed out of its sheath, has it?
No, we have not pulled this out. The archaeologist said that he is qualified and capable of helping us open it from the sheath, but it's one of those things where the reports coming back from the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch episode 2 that was filmed up here were they had a 90% retention to the main show that carried over, so they consider it a smash hit. Like History Channel loved it. Everything was a huge success, and so the odds of them coming back up here, I feel like opening the sword, there's a really big, deeper mystery behind that sword that involves potentially one of the Rockefellers being buried up here, tied to the sword. And so I feel like that's something that might be really cool for a season of the TV show, to like unsheath it and see whose name is on the blade.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, Chris Bartell said that indigenous history is the connection to these locations. Carl is on the path.
Dude, Chris, I got to reassure you too. We had the archaeologist here all day today and walked up through the flake zone, showed him the pottery. We hiked up to the shaman cave. went to the medicine wheels. Every single thing that we've walked through up here that we were like, is this something? Is this something? We were 100% nail on the head, everything. And plus some of the areas in the flake zone, we found grinding stones and stuff that we walked right past and didn't even know what they were, that he was able to identify. So everything that we've been finding up there indigenous has been accurate.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too about has the sword been tested for age and authenticity? That was Jim asking. I think that's on one of
Not
your podcasts you were talking about. Hmm?
not yet, other than just like looking at it, having the archaeologist look at it
Mhm,
just yesterday. And it dates right to the same time frame. So we were talking about the history of this place a little bit.
mhm.
So around like the turn of from the 1800s into the 1900s, there was a lot of weird activity, mysterious activity going on up here. And right around the 1930s, there was some major like mining operation going on
Oh,
and
okay.
strange groups.
Mhm. Oh, we lost him. All right. Well, he'll be back in just a second. Yeah, he'll reconnect. We'll get him going back. Yeah, his unfortunately up there, the signal's not the best at the ranch. I guess he might be back. There he
There we
is.
go.
All right.
But yeah, so sorry about that. I'm up here at the ranch, and so we'll just have to take our chances, right?
Thank
But
you,
yeah,
Chris.
yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, so the miners had some major operation going on up here, and the way the story goes is that they got deep under the ground here at Mount Wilson, and they ran into something underground, like
Mhm.
some kind of an antechamber or a big hollow place or I
Wow.
don't know, a cavern system.
Mhm.
And the rumors go everywhere from it being like a tomb with artifacts and mummies and archaeological stuff, all the way up to it being like a pyramid underground. We've even had people from the former NIDS team that worked for Bigelow that told us that Bigelow straight up thought that there was a UFO underground
I remember
here.
you talking about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Jeff, the owner of the ranch, when he bought the place from Bigelow, Bigelow told him like the last day when he was getting ready to leave was like, you have some kind of an alien or extraterrestrial structure here under the ground, so you need to be careful. And like
Yep.
basically warned him that there was some kind of a UFO here. So I
Yep.
don't know. We're still trying to figure that out and trace it down. But these miners in the 1930s, apparently, the story goes that they hit something underground that scared them really bad, to the point that they abandoned the mine, tried to cover it up and hide all the evidence of it. And the next thing you know, there's this weird gap in the history. And it's
Hmm.
just like the MX missile program came up here for a minute. And then there was a team of archaeologists from California that showed up, and they hauled a bunch of artifacts off the mountain. And as soon as they did that, it was like the ghost of the shaman and these aliens started popping up and scaring everybody. As soon as they
Wow.
started taking artifacts out of them, it was like it
Yep.
became haunted. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden, Bigelow and the NIDS team is here trying to figure out what's going on. And they're studying it just like Skinwalker Ranch. They were doing Jacques Ballet's sound and light experiments right down in the meadow,
Yep.
just like in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In fact, in the room right over here where we're going to put the museum, we found Bigelow's light projectors and sound system that they were
Really?
probably using.
Oh man. Oh,
It's
that's
so
awesome.
you you want to go see them?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to say too, Chris put up a message, said it's not the scientific method that matters, it's the native method. That's the
Yes.
connection. That's good to hear, Carl. Yeah, we knew it. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, good stuff.
Everything that we've been finding up here has been the result of trying to connect with the indigenous culture that was here and following that intuition. And it's
Yep.
100% right.
And that's
So
what
like
I
he's
was
got
going to
this
ask
whole
you.
train set.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to ask you
Yeah.
about the you said you've seen shadow figures and things like that. Do you think that that is more the indigenous peoples, or what's your impression on that?
All of my experiences when I've done meditations, when I've done gateway protocol or remote viewing, when I've tried to do contact CE5 type stuff up here, all of my experiences with it have come through as Native American.
Yep.
Yeah. they've come through as indigenous people or Native American type experiences and themes or dreams or encounters or impressions. I haven't had any alien or extraterrestrial stuff here, in spite of the stories all being about a UFO underground.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's been more of like a spiritual indigenous connection, but that's a lot of the path that I'm on personally and the work that I do that connects me to this kind of stuff, and the petroglyphs and the people that I work with on my team.
Mm-hmm.
And the UFO stuff just happens to be like a weird kind of element to it that you can't get away from, that is in all the
Right.
same places, you know. But
Yep.
yeah, that under the table there is these big light projectors and stuff that
Yeah, I
were
saw that. Yeah.
Bigelow, yeah, that he left
Wow.
behind. It's weird stuff. But
It's
there's like a
amazing
whole
what you
pop-up
find.
soundboard system and everything under there too.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, it's really cool that what you might find that was been left over. And that was one of the interesting points that was made on the show. And I had a picture, and I'll bring it back up real quick of Jeff. And that when it was mentioned that when he bought the ranch initially, he didn't know anything about the high strangeness of the area. And it wasn't until he actually bought it that all this started coming about. So he was buying it for completely different reasons, and now look at what he's ended up with. I mean, how does he feel about all that? I know you've talked to him a million times, and you guys are good friends now. How does he feel about how it's changed from what he was originally buying to what it is today?
For him, it's all been a really positive experience.
Good.
The whole thing has been transformative for him and his family, his understanding of everything going on here. But yeah, initially when he bought it, he didn't have any clue. He was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like when Bigelow would say stuff like, "There's a structure underground" or whatever, he didn't think there was anything to it, you know. But when you stay here a little while, and he's told me the experiences that he's had and the other people that come here have seen and had things happen. And then when he met the caretaker that was living here at the time during that transition, and all of her stories, and just going clear up until now, it just hasn't ever stopped. Just one thing after another being more and more validating and more compelling, to the
Wow.
point that stuff is just literally coming out of the ground, and entryways into the underground, and all these rumors that sound like there's something out of just folklore. We're actually finding, like,
That's
they're not,
awesome.
like, not a joke. We're
Right.
finding that they're actually true, and there's real evidence, real entrances, real artifacts, and tons of it. And so
Wow.
it's how we validate it and how we go about it. That's why we have the archaeologists up here and all of that.
Yep.
It's a lot. It's a lot to tackle.
Yeah, if you're doing it the right way, for sure. Jim mentioned, bring that back up if you would, Linda. Jim mentioned it's very similar to a site that he and Rogers, his co-host, have been investigating up in Hanna, Utah, which is just an hour away from Skinwalker Ranch. Very cool stuff. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, and then there was another one up here. Jerry had mentioned that he saw a video with archaeologists that indicated that artifacts in the Great Basin go back to at least 13,000 years ago.
Yeah.
As Carl states, mammoths and were hunted then. That's it. That's incredible to find, those things that go back that far. That's what a adventure you're on. I tell you, that's
Yeah.
oh
You just over across over by Elian over there, is uh, Pyramid Lake here in Nevada, that has petroglyphs there carved on the rocks that are older than the pyramids of Egypt. They're old. There's ancient stuff here. People don't realize we have this mindset because of our Western public education system being all primed for us to think that, like, white people discovered America, but there've been people here forever. There have been
long.
people here for a long time. There's
Yep.
sites up in northern Idaho that they've uncovered where the prehistoric glacier edges would have been. Um, Connors Ferry is the name of the place, and on the banks of the river up there, they found settlements that are probably 15,000 years old, of before the Ainu came over from Asia and along the glaciers and down. There's been people here forever.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's really great to see that. B Jones brought up a question. Yeah, I was heading down that road. Eventually, we were going to get there, but when you guys were looking at the mine entrances 1 and 2, you found the one, and when they blew the dynamite in there, and then we had those rocks, and it looked like there was some sort of a space behind it. I've actually got a couple pictures as I get to them here. Um, the one had the open, like I said, the open areas behind it, and then the one was full with wood chips, like when I had a stump ground up outside, you get this
Mhm.
pile of what was Henry, what do you think about that? What was going on with the wood chips? I mean,
That was a puzzle. That was a phase of the research that we were in at the time when the History Channel got here, where they were the most compelling locations that we had as
mhm,
access points to get to whatever was underground.
mhm,
Just based on the research that we'd done, hiking all over the place, studying the geology, talking to the former NIDS team, people looking at photos of them up here and what they were interested in and trying to
right,
figure out where they were and why they were there, all of that. There was a ton of it. Yeah. But there's up there in that area, there's multiple lava vent tubes.
mhm,
There's patches on the mountain when you're walking around that all of a sudden is like valley. It's like you're walking on a huge hill made out of baby powder because it's all just volcanic ash. A lot
yeah,
of that you can't show because it's covered in snow when the History
right,
Channel's there. And to get to some of the lava vent tubes is just impossible and inaccessible with the backhoe and to do in the time that we had with like the weather coming in.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
focused
that's
all
crazy.
of our efforts on these two that we could get the tractor to, that we could get the whole film crew up to accessible,
Mhm,
that weren't like impossible up on a ridge, but also that were really compelling. To me, initially, the hole with the wood in it seemed more compelling because on the surface, when you go up there in the summertime, for people who go back and watch my videos, like when I was up there with James Keenan and
mhm,
Jeff and those guys, we walk up there and like hole number 2 looks like it has archaic cribbing in it. It looks like it has like cut poles stacked in the entrance, almost like this down that have collapsed inside the hole. So it looks like
right,
there was a wooden entrance there into the underground, which in mining, if it's a horizontal entrance, they do call that a portal, a mining portal. So that
okay,
does get confused when people use the word portal,
right,
like that they mean supernatural or interdimensional, but sometimes it's just a mining portal we're talking about.
mhm,
But yeah, the one with the wood in it was really compelling. But after we popped it with the explosives and went up there, to me, it looked more like a decoy or like a failed attempt, like of a mine that they just filled back in,
mhm,
or we're just going to have to dig down in deeper. And I was just up there and hiked up there today and looked at hole number 1,
mhm.
and it's super weird. You're going to have to wait to find out what we saw. It's not what we thought. We went back up there in the spring now, and we just filmed it today, and it's way different than what we thought it was going to look like summer.
Yeah,
But
that was yeah, you guys were in a pressure to have to do something to try to, get some kind of access. And so,
yeah,
a lot of people were thinking dynamite. Well, they're going to bring dynamite in here and blow these things. Well, when you're pressed for time and the backhoe won't reach down there and pull those rocks out of it, I mean, what else do you do? So, yeah, I mean, dynamite. It
yeah.
did in mine one, it did kind of open it up enough to where you could actually look down inside there, though, a little bit anyway. So,
I will say this too for people that are concerned about it is that I was kind of left a little bit responsible for who picked the holes that we were going to pop based on just my scouting around with
right.
Jeff.
Mhm.
And I will admit this, part of my reason why I picked hole number 1 as the main one to pop because it looked like a really big one, but over that area is so sparse, if like nothing at all, when it comes to indigenous artifacts. Like I didn't
Mhm.
have any concerns like we were going to disrupt anything as
There you
far as
go.
that. So it
Perfect.
was
Yep.
like if there was like a far away safe way to go down in a cave and get in there without messing anything up, because originally, like I'll tell you, when they showed up, they were going to put all that dynamite right in the meadow in front of the cabin, and I was like, no
Oh,
way,
wow. No, no,
no
no.
way. So for people who want to know, we went up to those lava vent tubes because I to try and preserve the history of the place, and I didn't want to dynamite the meadow.
No, absolutely not. No, that meadow is really cool, and that's and that's kind of where I wanted to go next too with this is the meadow. There was the scans that were done. Now, obviously, before we get to that, let me bring up the drone. Um, when I got to see your video, I watched your video, kind of showing you were behind the scenes, backing away from the camera crew, and you were watching the drone. that was that was actually more exciting to watch what you did than the actual TV show. But that drone, I mean, what was your take on that? It seemed like there might have been a production drone at times up there too. But because I remember seeing some video from up in the air, but I mean, what was with that drone? What was your take on that?
I've never been able to successfully fly my drone here without crashing it on my first try and having to put a new propeller on and reset it and start it up again and take off from a different spot and move around. It's always been like a huge problem, and there's weird electrical things going on. I know you hear that a lot, but it is bad up here. We went up with multiple external battery packs to keep all of our stuff charged. Even just today, as soon as we got in the shaman cave, all of our stuff drained, went dead.
Wow.
A lot of my audio files you'll watch on the video when we get to it, like what I just filmed today.
Mhm.
When we crawl inside the cave, all of our audio goes like all weird in the video, and you can't hardly understand what we're talking about. It's super weird.
Wow.
But the drone, this is like a $20,000 professional drone. It's no joke. They fly this thing all the time. They pre-programmed it with GPS to fly on a grid over the lower meadow and the upper meadow and all these other places and over the lava vent tubes. And
Mhm.
that was another reason why it came down to dynamiting the meadow or up at the lava vent tubes, was because of the results of the drone.
Yep,
But
makes sense.
the first drone flight up there, right off the bat, I mean, everything was fine, took off, started doing the grid pattern. As soon as it got over that first lava vent tube, what we thought was an entrance, it started going like it was trying to swim through water, swerving all over in the air. Uh, and then he decided he's like going to try to bring it back down and
Right.
restart it. And then he just lost control, and the thing nosed right into the tree, right into the base of this tree. And if that tree wouldn't have been in the way, it probably would have gone right in the hole where
Oh,
we were going to
wow.
put the dynamite. It would have probably gone
Oh,
right in the
wow.
hole. And
Like it was being drawn in there. Wow.
and see, that was the drone crash that made it on the episode. They had 7 or 8 other drone crashes the rest of the time up there.
Really?
Uh, we had, and there was one time, and I wasn't there at this one, where it was flying full speed on a grid pattern, and everyone there watching it said that it was like the drone, all the propellers just suddenly stopped, and instead of it like continuing momentum to fall, it's like it hit something in midair and fell straight to the ground and just boom on the ground, like in the snow, and nobody knew what caused it. But later the GPS, when they pulled all the data back, he thought that it was corrupted because, like,
Mhm.
that it was no good because it was showing that the drone was totally convinced that it was flying over Bermuda and parts
Yeah.
of Cuba
Wha
instead of Nevada. So
That's
it
nuts.
thought it was over the Bermuda Triangle, the drone. And it wasn't like it was some squiggly random GPS pattern. It thought it was flying in a straight line and knew exactly where it was,
Mhm.
going over Bermuda, when it was actually flying over the mountain right out back here.
Wow. Yeah, I got a picture
So,
up of it now showing where it said it was. Yeah, you can see mine 1, mine 3, mine anomaly, mine 6. It's like, what how does that happen? I mean,
it was convinced, the drone in its recording of the data was convinced that it was on target and going over the mines where it was supposed to go, but all of the GPS data came back with the coordinates over Bermuda and over Cuba. We have no idea why.
yeah. See, and that
No idea
people
why.
people always question when that happens on Skinwalker Ranch. There's so many weird things that happen with the GPS data, and some people are, oh, it's just a fluke or whatever. No, it happens all the time. You don't get that. And for this to happen now on Mount Wilson Ranch, I mean, you go back to me, and I want to say there's something under the ground that's causing some weird electromagnetic influence there that's busting it up. the actual signal for the data for the GPS to work. Is that possible? I mean, is that or is it some sort of a, shall we go down that path? Is there some sort of electronics underneath the ground that's causing that? I don't know, but what's your take on that? What's causing something like that to happen?
The team from history and the drone professionals, they were even Andrew Bustamante, the, CIA guy, they were all acting like they felt like something was jamming the drone, that it was giving it the false signal, like a spoof signal on purpose to confuse
Right.
it and to crash it intentionally to hide whatever. For me personally, like we've been talking about, I'm a little bit more on like the consciousness side of things, and I do meditation, and I try to
Yep.
connect with the place, with the
Yep.
indigenous artifacts, and at a sort of a spiritual level as well. So for me to see the drone behave that way and to think that it's over Bermuda and all that still fits in line with the remote viewing experiences that I have here, and it doesn't conflict with any of the what you would consider supernatural or like paranormal things, which for me I think has to do with like time anomalies. I have a
Yeah.
fundamental misunderstanding of
Right.
how reality works and how time works and how human consciousness works and perception. And I think when you come to some places like this, they're anomalous or they're hyperactive or they're amplified in such a way that when you come here or try to use equipment, you get a glimpse of some of the glitches in the matrix. I don't know how else to say it,
Yeah.
but you start to see like almost on the fly synchronicities, or as it's happening, Mandela effects. Like, dude, you want to know one right now? This just occurred to me. This piece of paper fell out of thin air right up here and fell down and landed on the floor up there. I'm not joking. This fell out of the air like this old piece of paper. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Look at the date on this. What's the date today?
Oh, that says June. Oh, no way. June
What's
15th, 1979. Today's June 15th.
It's June 15th. We were dying. It's the same date. Like this fell down like a couple of weeks ago when this couple was here and they were like, huh, what's that? And they put it here and we come up and look at it. And right when we start looking at all of this stuff with the archaeologists, it's the same date as the date on the paper. It's the same date. But weird synchronicities and stuff like that pile up one after the other in ways that are bizarre, like Mandela effects
That's
happening
crazy.
procedurally as you go. Like
Wow.
almost that's where you get the rumors of like hitchhikers and things,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you almost get like you could feel like you're going to lose your mind because you'll put stuff down over here or close the door and swear you and turn around and it's wide open. Just weird stuff like that.
I've had that, yeah, kind of thing happen. And something, I was gonna say too about the batteries. You talk about how GPS works off of time also, and you talk about the batteries and how they drain. And it was a thought that I might have heard this from somewhere along the way, but thinking about the battery drain when you go into a certain place, you talk about the shaman spot, and you go in there and all of a sudden the battery's drained. And I brought this up on the show a couple weeks ago, talking about the battery drain and the time difference or differences. Is it possible that the battery didn't drain? It drained at its normal rate. It's the time that changed.
Mm,
Think about that for a second.
interesting.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
time
there's
changed while you were doing the experiment and the battery just continued on its normal rate. It's just that time changed for you. And therefore now the batteries are dead. And you're like, wait a minute, this was fully charged a little bit ago. How did it drain so fast? I don't know. Something to think about
interesting.
it.
It's very possible. I mean, I've had incidents like that, like strange sort of missing, you could call them like missing time incidents and things where from your perception, it was only like a couple of minutes, but really it was 3 hours or 4 hours and
Yeah.
some weird ones. Yeah.
Right. And
So
if
it's very
time
possible
changed,
it could be wrinkles like that.
Yeah, it could be wrinkles like that. We just don't know. I mean, if time changed and it changed in a moment from, and you may not even realize it. How would we know if we were all of a sudden missing an hour or two of time? If
Yeah.
you're, unless you're in a different place, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, why am I over here now? Was I dreaming or something? But I mean, is it possible? Why not? When you get into that metaphysical side of things like that, but that's just a strange thing.
Yeah,
That
it might not affect like our devices and technology the same way it does us as humans and everything. So there's a weird lag where it
Mhm.
we perceive it as it just draining our technology and we don't really notice it ourselves. But it's just kind of
Right.
like, what's going on?
A
Yeah, that
temporal
happened today
alignment.
hiking around. Our phones, everything. Like we had plans to go all the way over to the other mines, and all of a sudden, a huge rainstorm comes in, soaks us wet. All of our equipment drains. Our
Mm,
audio and everything starts corrupting in the video files, and we just have to come back and quit. you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
reset, recharge, and try again.
Mm. Were you getting too close to something, and therefore it said, okay, well, you're not going to go any further right now
We
on this.
were we were 100% belly crawling into a new pocket cave we discovered today. Yeah, and then
Oh,
all of that started happening. As soon
see,
as
that's
they
what I'm
crawled
talking.
under the entrance, as soon as we started crawling under the entrance, and I handed my camera under there, you'll hear it in the video. Every single video clip that they film underground, it's like there's this static, like this digital interference.
And what would cause that, right? I mean, who knows? I mean, until you
Same thing
investigate it.
crashing same thing that's crashing the drone and making it think
Yes.
it's in Bermuda. Same thing that makes you feel like you're flying in a spaceship when you try to sleep up here for 2 or 3 nights in a row. Yeah. You
Wow.
just have like out of body dreams and weird stuff happen. It affects
Yeah.
you when you stay up here a
I know
while.
that they talk about this on some of the paranormal shows when they're going around with the EMF and stuff, and they're getting high electromagnetic fields and how it does affect our brains. Now, we
Yeah.
only saw just a quick portion when Andy went down into the meadow with, I think it was with Jeff right off the bat in the beginning of the show. And he had his EMF with him, and it was all reading pretty normal stuff, point 0.2, point 0.3, whatever. Then he went down there in the actual creek bed, and then it read like a 1.7 or something like that. I forget what it was. I had a picture of it, but so I mean, did has other have they gone around? Have you gone around and checked for EMFs around other areas of the ranch and picked
A
up
little
weird?
bit of what Andy was doing with the tri-field meter was sort of like a nod to months and months of my research that I've done up here with radiation sensors and tri-field meters and infrasound. And we have a cumulative body of data and results off of that was is too much to cover in 30 seconds of a TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so Andrew and Jeff went down there. They walk around and they basically are like, "Yeah, there's a signal here. Let's just get to the point," right? So they film that part to convey the message. But for people that want to know how that really goes down, you can go back and watch hours and hours of documentary stuff on my YouTube channel where I discover that there's infrasound Schumann resonance in that lower meadow that pulses at a frequency of 7, 14, and 21 hertz, right in the theta wave at this pure Schumann resonance that affects your hippocampus, it affects your pineal gland, it affects the occipital lobe of your brain, all of the psychoactive aspects of the brain basically light up. And if you had the ability to hear it in that frequency or in that spectrum, it would sound like you were at a Metallica concert. It's so off the charts loud, like in that frequency range, so potent there. And up on the front porch of the settler's cabin down there, with the same tri-field meter that Andrew was using, I've had like EMF and magnetic readings and things on the front porch that go all the way up to 59 on the
Wow.
meter. So on the TV show, you only see it go woo woo up to like
Hmm.
1.9, but I've had it go
Right.
clear up to 59 on me. And we've had
Wow.
infrasound at specific spots at very high potent levels. And it's like a pulsing. And if you stay up here and you're sensitive to it and sit out there and meditate, even my brother who's up here on the trip with me last night when he was going to bed, he thought for sure that his bed was vibrating, like there was like a low grade earthquake going on, but you just have to. That's just the Mount Wilson. Welcome to Mount Wilson Ranch. There's a Schumann resonance here, and if you right when you're falling asleep at the end of the day, it hits you. You can feel it.
Ron asked me the question, or I guess she's asking that to me because I was a radioman in the Navy, but 714 and 21. No, it doesn't. It's not popping up to me as far as radio is concerned, but I have to think about that for a minute.
All I know is that
Low,
I've just
low,
heard that
medium,
it's
and
a
ultra high frequency. Yeah. Ultra
yeah.
low. And then, yeah.
In,
And,
in the
and high.
shaman cave, if you sit there in the shaman cave in the back with your head against the wall,
I've seen you doing that. Yep.
you can feel that boom, boom, boom coming up out of the earth. It's like there's a subwoofer down under the mountain, you
I
know?
can't. I gotta check this out for myself. That's all there is to it. I gotta get there.
It's cool.
That's crazy. There was a question somebody was asking about, or a couple of people have asked. You talked about to come up there to the ranch, and you talked about the Patreon channel. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? People want to, is this up? Is it up and running yet, or not quite, or how's that working?
Yeah, so we created a whole link tree to make it easier for everybody to find. So you can go to like just type Mount Wilson Ranch link tree or Patreon, either one.
Mhm.
And so there's a couple of ways that we came up with. So trying to just open it up like a hotel doesn't work because they don't live here all the time. They just come here in the summer, and it's like more like a club membership type thing that we've come up with. So one of the options, you can go directly to the website and just email and stay for like 4 or 5 days, or bring a whole crew up here and get a whole group of people, and you want to request like a guided tour. You want me to come and be here and take you to the shaman cave, do paranormal investigations in the Meadow and all that with you. If you want me to come here, you can go to the website, and it basically emails the webmaster and everything. Get sent like an invoice depending on what kind of package you want to come and stay here. If you just want to come and check it out like overnight, or just see it for the day and walk around without like a whole guide and everything, we created a Patreon page for that. So for $40, you can just come up during the daytime hours, jump on the Patreon page, support Jeff and the ranch, to keep the lights on. And they let you go around and film and take pictures and talk to them and come in the saloon and see everybody. And that's just a $40 Patreon membership or whatever. And then after you leave, you can just like either drop it down to the $10 a month or $5 a month inner circle membership, or just cancel it, and come back and pay the $40 again when you want to come back. So we try to just make it really easy for people to come up. So to either the website or the Patreon page, you can get overnight passes and day passes, and all the way up to private experiences and meditations down in the Meadow with me and Jeff and all that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And I'll put some links out as soon as we get done here. For those of you, you can, I'll put some links in the description of the show that you guys can check out and just click on that. It may get a little bit easier for everybody to find this. So, but yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking this out myself for sure. I got to get to I'm going to be out there in that area for like 2 months in September, October, November timeframe. So I'm going to Mount Wilson Ranch for sure. And I'd love to meet you out there in person too. Before I want to get back to the show real quick too. Yeah, Jim, we got to do this, Jim. We'll be talking
That's the
about this
thing.
tomorrow.
The overnight passes, you get to bring a friend. So either you and your spouse or a buddy can come or whatever, and you could stay in the shaman room sleep in the same bed that Bigelow slept in. And it's pretty cheap. It's like $150 for two people to come and actually stay overnight. It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. All right. So we'll get those links up for everybody. When they were down in the Meadow, now after the drone had crashed, and again, the time frame I know is all different because of the show and the way they edited it together, but they had taken they call one guy called him Young Buck. He he got the magnetometer, I believe it was, and he was walking around with it in his hand. And they went down to the Meadow and he did a pattern while he was down there with Andy. I think he was with Andy at the time. Or it might have been Paul. I can't remember actually. But anyway, they were going back and forth. They did a pattern. Then we see the actual results of that. And it was like this. And then they went back to Skinwalker Ranch and they were showing this to Travis and to Eric. And Travis jumped up immediately and said, well, that looks like an array.
Yeah.
That would be used. Can you talk about this? Did they expand upon it, or can we go any further than that? No? Okay.
I mean, I can tell you everything that I know. What I know is that when that data came in, the gentleman, when you saw him, when they were filming that scene, they sat right here at that
Yep.
table, and they were going over all the data.
Yep.
And when he came back in to go over that with everybody, he had only got like maybe 2 hours of sleep that night because he couldn't make sense of it, from the Bermuda Triangle stuff
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the grid underground. He wanted to make sure that like he wasn't inaccurate with everything that he was
Mhm.
looking at. So he only got like 2 hours of sleep that night trying to piece all that together. And when they did, I wasn't in that scene. So the whole time they were here talking at this table, I was out the window spying in from the front porch of the Shaman Motel, like, man, what are they talking about? I wanted to know really bad too. I was like, what did they find under the Meadow? But I honestly had to wait until right before the episode came out, when Brandon Fugel sent me some of the stuff about what they found down there in the Meadow and what all that was, and then seeing it in the actual episode and what it is. But as far as like the full data, and what it all is, that's kind of it. But here's what's funny: that guy, he's a friend of ours, but he left his laptop here. So technically, if we could get in that thing, he forgot his laptop here. No, we're gonna have him come back up though and help us. There is going to be some behind the scenes stuff that I filmed that's still upcoming, where I sat right here at the bar and over his shoulder while he had it up on his laptop, he goes through a lot of that. So some more of
Okay.
that's still going to come out, that he explains
Okay.
what that actually is. I don't know. It does look some kind of like an array system, like a
Mhm.
buried antenna array. It speaks to me of something to do with the MX missile program that was up here during Ronald Reagan's Star Wars era, when they were
Uh-huh.
doing all that, because Mount Wilson Ranch was heavily looked by the MX missile program. So there's the potential that they put some kind of a system buried under the Meadow there at some point like that. And then Bigelow came back up later and that's why they had the bulldozer and they were digging in the Meadow and got it stuck there for 2 years looking for something there.
Right.
But the rumors that all came out was that it was that there's like a UFO or a structure or a craft or something that's like alien underneath the ground there. And that whatever's under the Meadow, I'll just say this. So you see the lines going this way? Let's see if I do my hand the right. How do I do it? I can't do it. It's all backwards. I can't do it. But you see how the lines are all going like this, right?
Right.
Across the screen there.
Right.
If you look at the yellow feature underneath that deeper.
Mhm. Yes.
And if you think of like, I can't say too much.
I know. I don't want to get you in a spot there.
Imagine if there's something much larger and that is just the corner or part of something more
Okay.
like
All right.
triangular or pyramidal shape
Okay.
type thing, much deeper.
Okay. Interesting. Some people were saying, there was, of course, when the show came out on Tuesday and people looked at this, and there was a lot of people coming out immediately and going, "Oh, that's just a drain field. That's a septic system drain field." And I'm like, that. I mean, if you go back in time to the, I mean, I was digging, in a septic system out here at the cabin, so I'm very familiar with drain fields.
It
Modern,
couldn't. This
modern.
the corner up here, the way, if it was a drain field, it would be completely illegal because the drainage is going right into Craw Creek, which would be, you can't do
Right.
that. You couldn't put your septic drainage to go right into Craw Creek that goes down as a tributary to the
Right.
rest of the valley and the community below, livestock
Right.
and farm fields and everything. So they would not allow you to put the septic tank there. Not only that, there's no historical opportunity for that to even occur, because if you follow the lines up the way that they go to the top left of the where the lines all run, that goes
Mhm.
right under the front deck of the settler's cabin that's been there since the 1800s.
Wow.
So
Okay.
septic
Yeah.
system to what? There's no plumbing in there.
Yeah.
There's no plumbing. There's not even
Right.
electricity in that building. It was built in the late 1800s. You know, it's been there
Right.
forever. It was
Wow.
there when the original stagecoach would come up from Pioche and drop people off and take them to town. Yeah, so
Okay.
there hasn't been any septic stuff up there. Like the septic stuff underneath the bunkhouse and everything goes down the mountain the other way. It's to the south. Yeah, it goes underneath the road to the south. I know because I've
Yeah.
helped Jeff pump it out. When the History Channel got here on day one, the septic tank was full, and me and Jeff had to go pump it out with a whole pump thing and with a four-wheeler and haul it up and put it in a tank out back. It was crazy.
So that, that's that grid that we saw from that one picture is basically in this area here,
Yeah.
and
So
that's the settler's cabin on the left.
that grid, yep, that's the settler's cabin, and the grid structure is coming out from basically underneath the porch of that settler's cabin across the meadow to the east, and then you see Craw Creek coming down the right side of the screen. So there's the pump house up there to the right
So
on
going
the
down
top
like
of the
this.
screen. Yeah, so the lines are going down just like that. Yep, that's what
Okay.
you're seeing in the. So on
Okay.
the top left there, where Jeff and Andrew are standing, is where those lines kind of stop underneath the porch because that's where they walked. You know, if they could have
Right.
gone up, maybe this thing goes underneath the cabin, which would mean that this whatever those lines are were there before the 1800s when the cabin was built. You know.
Wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the information that we have and stuff that leaked out of Bigelow's team from NIDS would indicate that there's an even deeper structure underneath that matrix or grid that goes completely underneath the sediment of the mountain and is much, much larger.
Mhm.
Like just the corner of something is under the meadow. And the reason that it's interesting in the meadow is because that's where it's the most shallow point. So that's why Bigelow was interested there. But the real entrance to get down underneath to that area, and what we were trying to access on the TV show is something that we just basically found a couple of weeks ago. So we still are just barely getting started up there.
Wow. Yeah, there's one last picture I want to show too. And it was the one that well, there was this one here, of course. This one kind of showed the Craw Creek and the lower meadow down. This is where the guys were standing down there, in the lower meadow, doing the magnetometer down there. But there was another one, let's see, right here. This is the one that I thought was really interesting. So you had your mine entrances that you were working on up here,
Yeah.
and then and this is supposed, right? This isn't factual yet. We don't know for a fact that all of these are connected, but pretty good evidence to say that it is.
Yeah. It was at the time was our most compelling theory of
Mhm.
the best way to access the lava tube system that goes underneath the ranch.
Right,
And that was based off of everything from NIDS all the way up to that day when we made the decision to put the explosives in those holes.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, the really compelling stuff that's unfurled since then is very interesting. We need to revisit those holes
Mhm.
that we popped with the explosives, but we've found other entryways that without a doubt were what they were back in the 1930s, where the stories come from. Yeah,
Stay tuned.
without a doubt. I mean, we've had a couple,
Wow.
more than one person now that would knows exactly what they're looking at, that looked at what we found, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, you found it!"
Yeah.
What they've
Wow.
been looking for 100 years up here. Jeff and I basically walked up and discovered just a few weeks ago. Yeah,
Wow. That's amazing. I
yeah.
can't wait. I really can't wait. Yeah,
It's
this is gonna
really exciting. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow, I tell you what, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start to wrap it up here, but I tell you what, man, this is, the work that you've done out there, and again, talking about you working on this for about a year now, this information. And again, folks, if you in simply, I will get the links up, but simply if you go out to YouTube and you put in Carl the Crusher, you will find Carl's YouTube channel. And yeah, and if you're interested in this stuff at all, go check that out because you're going to see a lot of videos where him alone and also with Chris Bartell and James Keenan and Lato. What's his first name, Mr. Lato?
Chris. So
Chris
they're
Lato.
all Chris's. So it's Chris Bartell, Chris Lato, and the archaeologist is Chris Roberts. So now
Yeah.
we got another Chris.
But yeah, check them out because they've got some very, very compelling, or Carl does have some very, very compelling videos out there. And then not just about Mount Wilson Ranch, but about petroglyphs and pictographs all over the area. You've really done a lot of research, and I tell you what, it's fantastic. And I can't wait to come out and meet you in person. B. Jones, thank you so much. Yeah, a real treat having Carl on. You bet, absolutely. That it was, and folks, I tell you, it was one of those things where it was a last minute deal, kind of like, and I thought, well, and I didn't have a co-host for tonight. So then I thought, oh, wow, I wonder if Carl could come on, and I know you're busy because you're always doing stuff, and boom, there you are. So I can't thank you enough. I tell you what, awesome.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it, and thanks for thinking of me. And I appreciate your supporting the show. For everything that I've heard, it was a massive hit.
Mhm.
Episode 1 was a huge hit at Bradshaw Ranch. Everybody, the amount of people that stayed on to watch, and this is what's exciting about this entire project is that they didn't really promote or push or market the show at all. They really
Right,
just kind of was like, let's just see. And they rolled the dice and they threw all of us out there, and they trusted that, what was going to come out in the show was either going to resonate with people or not.
right.
And episode 1 really hit and everybody watched and resonated with it. And then our episode up here at Mount Wilson, from everything that I've heard already, and even the phone call I got this morning was that it just like blew the lid off. Like
That's
that,
great.
everybody all the way up A&E is like thrilled about it. So the potential to continue to do work up here is huge, or to even have our own show potentially. But yeah, I've got even all the links and everything for people that are interested. If you go to my YouTube channel, I'll have all that down in my description box to find the stuff
Okay,
about Mount
good.
Wilson Ranch and all of my work, and even to go join Skinwalker Ranch Insider page and all that. Like I've
Mhm.
got it all lined out there, and you can access Mount Wilson's tree, and
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to find. So
Yep.
yeah, it'd
Absolutely.
be
Thank
cool.
you.
Come up and hang out with us there. You can get a day pass. Anybody can come up and meet
I'm
Jeff.
coming. I told you. After I go to Phenomicon, because I'm going to Utah for Phenomicon, I'll be out there for that. And then once I'm done there, I'll be hanging out in that area for a little while because there's some other people that I'm going to meet up with there as well. But then after that is done, I'm heading your way. I'm heading over there. I'm coming to Mount Wilson Ranch without a doubt. And I'm going to grab this guy right here, Jim, and I'm going to drag him with me.
That'd be
And
awesome.
Roger. And Roger. We got to take Roger too, Jim. We got to bring him out there. Yeah.
It's the perfect setup for it. It's got rooms available. It has all the stories and everything. And if you're willing to sign the waiver and take your chances, and join the Patreon, then
Yep.
come and check it out.
Yeah. I've got a boatload of equipment going with me. So yeah, I tell you what. One last question for you. And any do they allow any metal detecting? Can't keep it probably, but allow metal detecting over there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it. If you go to the Mount Wilson Ranch website, there's
Mhm.
all the stuff on the guided tour options and things that are available to do even when you come during the day hikes and things like that. Yeah, you can even go metal detecting. If you do the full guided tour, we take you all the way to the actual, what we think is a Spanish minecart path and abandoned mine shafts and metal detecting. And there's artifacts all over the place. And since we are working with the archaeologists now and putting an actual museum in here and document it all officially and doing it the right way, then the opportunity to have people come up and contribute to the museum and even find things and mark it, document it. We want to do it as an educational process as well, so that
Absolutely.
like having you be able to go with us up to the mines. If somebody finds a piece of pottery, it's a perfect opportunity to teach everybody in that group exactly how to handle
Exactly.
it, how to help us do the research and support the ranch rather than just take it or disrespect the whole place. So we, rather than send everybody away with guns and tell everybody you can't come here, we're trying to do this as an educational opportunity and actual genuine approach towards like our attempt at disclosure and what is actually going on in these types of places in a healthy, respectful way to the artifacts, the indigenous people, and all the people out there that are experiencing things in their own lives and trying to understand all of this mystery, to come up and get some answers. And a little bit different than Skinwalker Ranch, my experience here at Mount Wilson Ranch has been super clarifying, always very positive. Within the second or third day, I just feel like clear, like I'm right back into the source of the earth. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like being, in the movie Tron, when they lay down and they drink right from the river of energy. That's what it's like when you stay here for like a week. It's like it totally grounds you out, and you remember who you are and reconnect with all of that. It's an amazing place to come and do all that.
I can't wait. I know I see so many people saying they can't wait to come out there now. So this is going to be, I got a feeling this is going to turn into a big thing. And I really commend you. Tell Jeff also that, McBurney, that I really commend him as well for what he's doing and what you just said to preserve the stuff that's out there, set up this museum so people can come out and see it and experience it for themselves. I think that's fantastic. And it's a great way to look at doing all this. Yeah, you probably have to charge a little bit like you do through the Patreon, but that's so you can continue this and make it better going forward down the road. Makes absolute sense. So
still have to turn the lights on. You still have to wash sheets. You got to do all of that. Keep the buildings warm, put a new, pump out the septic tank. There's just basic things in order to keep the place running. So we have to have basic requirements, but to even just support the work and the research and our efforts to access what's underground, continued efforts and collaboration with the History Channel, all of it's been unprecedented. Like if you guys like Curse of Oak Island and Skinwalker Ranch, if Mount Wilson Ranch ends up with its own show, buckle up, because this place, it's off the charts with all that stuff. All of that stuff. I've got piles of it laying right here, like what they would call metamaterial and stuff. We go down and you find it all over the place. Wow. This place is wild.
Yeah, and like you said, I won't get into what you found, but you found one thing that was from like the turn of the century, right a few feet away from something that's modern technology.
We found an aircraft part on the side of a mountain. This right here, right next to a old Pioneer ceramic bedpan. This is like some airplane antenna from Florida.
That's crazy.
Look at this one. Sorry, I know we're trying to end the show.
No, please go ahead.
We were walking down a trail that we walked down.
We got 13 minutes before we got to get over to Skinwalker Ranch Revelation. So go ahead.
So this idea of like time glitches, right? The synchronicities. We walked down this trail dozens of times, very common spot to go down. Same day that we found what we think is the actual real entrance, right on the trail. Look at this, these boots. Those are boots. They don't look like it.
Not anymore.
But they were just sitting on the trail there with a pair of pants. There's just like boots and pants laying on the trail where we've been down this trail dozens of times. And all of a sudden we go down there and we're like, what is this? And Jeff picks it up and it's a boot. And we're like, where's the other one? There it is. There's the pants. And we follow this trail up and it's wild.
And now, you got to wonder about the person that lost his boots and his pants out in the middle of nowhere now, if you could you need to get those dated and see if you can find out what kind of date are on those boots. My goodness.
But we don't even know if is their feet still in there?
I don't maybe.
Was there bones in the toes?
I
don't know yet. Where do we start? There's so much.
Oh my gosh. Stay tuned because there could be more. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, this has been fantastic, Carl. Really, truly has, man. I knew having you on was going to be enlightening and to have you kind of explain more of the show. I can't wait to see more. Honestly, I really can't.
Check out. There should be bonus episodes that have tons of Mount Wilson Ranch extra stuff. more on the, I would call, paranormal skinwalker side of things. There
Mhm.
was stuff that happened to the crew, and things that happened down in the meadow when they were filming that I hope they show, that got all left out of the main episode, that I was like, I can't believe they cut that out, because to me it was like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
They all came pouring back in the saloon like they had legit seen a ghost down in the meadow. The
Really?
whole History Channel crew. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
All of them.
crazy. Wow. Hey, Linda,
Hey,
what's the matter?
Hey, Linda.
she's just opened the door and walked in twice.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, tell you what. All right. Well, thank you very much, folks, for being here with us tonight. We
It was
appreciate
great, Carl.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, Carl, I'm so glad, so honored to have you on the show again. We're going to connect. I'll be out there to see you in just a few months' time. So be prepared for the arrival of that.
Sounds awesome. Let me know.
I'm going to drag some people with me. So, anyway, thank you for being here with us, folks, tonight. We really had an awesome time with Carl, and we will catch you next time. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, episode number 8. I forgot the name of it already. I had it written down, but I forgot the name of it. But we're going to be talking about that. We got
Between
Jim.
the lines?
Yes, between the lines.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. We've got Jim Kelgard is going to be with us tomorrow, and also Cheryl Carter is going to be joining us, and of course Pete Kelsey. You guys need Pete Kelsey to come out there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Have him come out with his stuff and do comparative data. See if he sees the same stuff. You know,
I'll ask him about it tomorrow and see what he says.
that would be awesome. Yeah,
That
I
would be
really
really
like Pete. I think it would be really cool to have him here.
Yeah. All right. So we'll catch you tomorrow night. Don't forget, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the JFree906 podcast. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.